again. We're going to read a couple more chapters in the Wild Robot Escapes. And when we left off, we were just on chapter 81 called The Meltdown. Throughout the city, humans stopped to see what they were doing and pulled out their electronic devices. Each screen was showing the same video of a defective robot's broken body. Rosum Unit 7134 was etched across its torso. A blazing beam of light filled the picture, and the robot parts burned bright orange, and then the robot parts began to melt. And in a flash, our robot was reduced to a puddle. Words appeared on their screens. The defective robot has been destroyed. Chapter 82, The Secret. Dr. Malovo lived in a luxurious apartment that was built right into the robot factory. Art and books and leather furniture filled the rooms. Classical music always seemed to be playing softly in the background. As you might expect, she had a robot butler who cooked and cleaned and made sure everything was exactly how she liked it. Dr. Malovo's home was a comfortable place to grow old. The woman was standing in her living room, gazing at the city through a wall of windows. The sky was cloudy, but her mind was clear. Destroying the Rosum unit was the correct thing to do. However, Dr. Malovo had a secret. A wooden door opened and in walked the butler. He was carrying a limp robot in his arms. It was Dr. Malovo's newest creation, a special project she'd been tinkering with for years. And the time had come to bring this robot to life. "Put it over here," said the woman. The butler carefully laid the robot upon the sofa cushions of the sofa. Then he turned and marched right out the door. Dr. Malovo walked across the room. She stared down at the robot for a while, admiring her own handiwork. Finally, she leaned in close and said, "Wake up, Roz." The New Robot, Chapter 83. The robot heard classical music. She smelled flowery perfume, and when her eyes opened, she saw a wrinkly face. "Hello again, Roz," said the old woman. "How do you feel?" "Hello again, Dr. Malovo. I feel different." "You are different. What have you done?" "Well, I destroyed Rosum Unit 7134, said the woman. "That was the only way to make sure people felt safe again. What nobody knows is that I transferred your old mind into this new body. I could get in a lot of trouble for saving you, but I wasn't about to destroy that remarkable mind of yours." The robot was speechless. "You know, Ron, you really should be thanking me," said Dr. Malovo, arching her eyebrow. "Thank you," said Roz. "Thank you very much." "You are very welcome," the woman chuckled. Roz walked over to a mirror and studied her new body. It resembled her own old body, but the proportions were slightly different. She looked stronger. She felt tougher. And there were other differences. "I have no button," she said, as she felt the back of her head. "And I have no unit number." "Yep, you've outgrown those things," said Dr. Malovo. "But if I am not Rosum Unit 7134, who am I?" "I think you know who you are." The robot's computer brain didn't take long. She looked into the mirror and said, "I am Roz." The old woman smiled and nodded. I appreciate all you have done, said Roz, but I worry that my friends and family will no longer recognize me. Oh, I'm sure you'll be able to convince them of who you are. Speaking of your family, there's someone here to see you. Chapter 84, The New Mother. Brightbill was there when his mother smashed against the pavement. He watched as her body parts were loaded into an airship. He followed the ship all the way back to the robot factory and perched himself on the roof, but he didn't know what to do next. Strutter the pigeon stopped by to check on Brightbill. She encouraged him just to fly home, but the goose wasn't ready to go yet. His little heart still hoped that his mother would come back from the dead somehow. He'd seen it happen before. As the hours passed, however, his hope was starting to fade. And then one of the roof windows automatically slid open. The goose heard gentle music coming from inside the building. He fluttered through the window and followed the music down a hallway to a wooden door. The door opened, and Brightbill stepped in. Brightbill waddled past tall bookshelves, leather furniture, and then to the middle of a very large room. An old woman was sitting in a chair, and a robot was standing by a mirror. The goose didn't recognize either of them. And when the robot rushed toward him, Brightbill squawked, "Stay back!" and scrambled away. Around the room he went, squawking and flapping, until he settled onto a table in the corner, on top of the table, looking very lost and afraid. But the robot stayed where she was. "Brightbill, it is me, your mother." The goose just stared. "I know I look different on the outside," the robot went on, "but on the inside I'm the same. I still speak the language of the animals, and I still remember every detail of our life together. I remember sitting around the fire in our home on the island. I remember the first time you took flight. We were up on that grassy ridge, and you stretched out your wings, and suddenly you were floating on the wind. But then you flopped back onto the grass. You must have flopped into the grass 100 times that day. And I remember visiting the robot gravesite together. We talked about life and death, and it was a tough conversation, but it was a good one." As the robot continued to speak, the goose began to relax. This robot certainly did act and sound like his mother, but Brightbill wasn't yet convinced. "If you're really my mother, tell me the name of our home." "The nest." "Who's my best friend?" "Chit Chat. She's a squirrel, and she talks a lot." "How old was I when you adopted me?" "Well, you were 0. Actually, you were less than 0. I mean, you were still in your egg, but I could hear you peeping through the shell." And with those words, Brightbill knew the truth. "Oh, Mama, it really is you!" And the goose fluttered across the room and into his mother's arms. The arms were new and unfamiliar, but they were also gentle and comforting. "I love you, Mama." "I love you, son." And from the other side of the room came the sound of sniffles. Our friends turned and saw Dr. Malovo wiping tears from her eyes. "I have no idea what you two were saying, but that was wonderful," she said. That's where we're going to finish today. But the next chapter is chapter 85, and it's called The Guests. Well, until next time, bye-bye.